Hi.
Yeah, and then now I'm working on Mad as Hell with Sean McAuliffe, and that's really awesome. It's like my dream job. I've always been a huge owner of McAuliffe box sets, and it was like it's taken me, I reckon, a couple of seasons to stop being weird around him. But you've got to stop yourself from thinking about how weird it is that you're here. Oh my God. I'm sitting on a desk next to McAuliffe and he's doing a funny face at me. And even lots of his characters' reactions to what we're doing will be like, you're an idiot. Or he'll be looking like, what's she talking about?
Yeah.
And sometimes I get caught up with his acting and I think, oh no, he's not happy with my performance.
Oh.
which is not true. Because you care so much about what he thinks.
Yeah. Yeah.
For me and for people that I know, it's been a lot about having really great role models.
Right.
So I guess a comic now over the last decade would have been like, oh, how good's Jerry Seinfeld, and grow up with it and think, oh, I could do that.
Mm.
And now, for me, people like Tina Fey and there's so many great shows that have women and heading them up that are really funny.
Yeah.
So it makes you think, oh, I could do that.
Yeah.
I think it's about having people in the mainstream that are really doing great things and that are successful.
Mm.
Amy Poehler, Community, there's Veep, there's so many examples at the moment of women being incredibly funny and leading the way in
Veep
comedy shows.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm not even sure. For me, I've never even thought of it as an issue.
No.
I've never thought of women in comedy as being an issue. And the only time I ever think about it is when, for example, I get asked if I'll audition for a show like A League of Their Own, where it's a sports panel show, and they're like, oh, we just need a woman on the panel that can say funny things occasionally. Basically, I think probably I'm just a bit easygoing about it all. Also, I just think it's probably the reality of the situation. If there is, sometimes when I'm watching QI, I'm like, oh, there's no women on the panel. I even noticed that.
Yeah.
So I'd prefer that there is.
Yep.
They just make a point of having female presence and giving women an opportunity. Mm. So I think sometimes they do get overlooked, and it's really hard on those sorts of panels. It's taken me a long time to get used to the idea that you're all right to jump in, some folks are just so confident about what they're saying, and they know that if it's shit, it'll get edited out. But I'll sort of bide my time and think, oh, I'm too new and I'm not sure what I'm doing, and So, but then the whole aim of the game is to just have fun, look like you're having fun, and jump in. It's hard, isn't it, to just say, men are like this, women are like this, because obviously it's just always feels ridiculous saying that, and it is. But I went to a forum recently about raising your own, doing your own possible campaigns to raise funds for your own projects.
Yeah.
And we're talking about whether, when you're doing it for a charity, there's a reason that people should care. When you're doing it for social change, there's a reason people should care. But if you're doing it for your own creative project, which is what I would probably, I sound like a dick, but which is probably what I would want to do. I've got some of my own projects, a dramedy or whatever. I fucking hate that word. Dramedy that I would want to try to get up, but I just can't find the funding. You apply for grants and you try to pitch at places. But I was like, I would never pitch that as a possible campaign to my friends, because I would just feel like, why should they care about something that I want to do, about giving their hard-earned money to try to help me achieve my goals? Anyway, and at this, the guy running the sort of seminar said that it's hugely male-dominated who runs these possible campaigns, and it's guys more often than not who do their passion projects, because they're like, fuck it, I'll just put it out there, and if it sinks, it does, but if it swims, bada bing, I got some money.
Yeah.
But I would be reluctant, thinking, oh, people will think I'm an idiot, you know, like, I don't know if that's a female trait. It must be, according to the stats.
Well, you're right in what you're saying is there's like everyone's different, and it's actually a really good point is to divide the comedy industry up by gender is seen as, you know, pointless to some people, seen as damaging to some people. Do you actually think that having an issue that's devoted to women in the industry can be damaging, can be a backward step, can be trite, overdone? Thoughts?
I do kind of think it's an annoying subject, honestly, because it's just not something that affects me or that I think about or that anyone I know thinks about. But I think it's probably different. Well, certainly there are less female roles going about, particularly in Australia. That's annoying. But I think for stand-ups, it's different. I remember I was hearing Celia Piccola talk on a panel one time about how she feels like if she's on a gala lineup, then if she walks out as the first woman coming out after a whole heap of dudes, she says she can feel the audience sort of slump and go, oh, prove yourself, you know? It's more of like an uphill battle.
Yeah.
But that's certainly not something that but I've encountered
right.
doing character comedy for TV or whatever. Well, I'll tell you one other thing that was interesting though. When I was trying to market my comedy festival show, people would say, "Oh, what's it about?" And the one time I said, "Oh, it's kind of about." I can't even remember this show anymore. But I was like, "Oh, it's about being working in the media. It's about my experiences working in radio. It's about, you know, being a woman." And they were like, "Oh, leave out the bit about being a woman." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, okay, I will." And then so from then on, I was like, "Yeah," I sort of explained what it was about, but left out anything about, because it was quite like female-centric jokes. Like women would have watched it and gone, "Oh yeah, good," and a man might not have understood.
Right.
Veronica Milsom, fantastic to have you with me. Oh, ditto. Yeah, you're looking well. So can you tell us a little bit about your debut festival show? That was my question. You hijacked it. No, answer the question. Well, it is a one-woman show, performed and written by you, I know. If you knew the answer, why did you ask? Well, don't query the question. It was your question originally. I just hijacked it. I know, I said that. Exactly.
But I guess it was just like avoiding things that would make people laugh according to my gender, because I just sort of thought making like observations that anyone could was better off than going,
right,
you know. And then not to say that I wouldn't talk about having breasts or like, you know, my experiences with a guy or something.
Sure. So you talk about your personal experiences, but you wouldn't speak for your gender.
Like more just like potty humour.
Yeah.
Was funny based on the fact that you look like you wouldn't do that, and because you're a woman. I try to avoid things that are too female centric, because all my friends, like I had this one sketch that was that I wrote. I wrote heaps of stuff that didn't make it into the comedy festival show that I did.
Yeah.
But one of them was about Hello God, This Is Me, Margaret, that Judy Blume book. And I read it to a table of my comedy mates who are all guys, and they were all like, "Oh, no," because it was about a woman who wanted to get breasts and would pray to God that she could get breasts, which is what happens in this Judy Blume book.
Right.
But none of them understood the reference because they didn't grow up with it like most girls that I did.
Yeah.
And I always felt like an idiot reading it out. I was like, "Oh, it's a thing about like adolescent girls. Don't worry about it." And they were like, nah, next one. And so I just think maybe like because they don't find it funny and they're the people that I mostly hang out with.
Yeah.
Like I'll tailor what I write or what I say to what my friends will think are funny, and my comic friends are mostly dudes.
So had you actually scrapped the test show and gone straight to the comedy festival with that, you know, that story, do you think it would have actually connected with a lot of people in the crowd?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I wrote on Facebook, how many people would understand a Judy Blume sketch reference?
Yeah.
And there were a lot of women that were like, yeah, definitely, I would definitely understand. But it's hard to know sometimes with stuff like that, whether it's just was big in your childhood but not necessarily other people's.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, I kind of do wonder like with stuff like that, how it would go down.
So what are you actually doing next? What's next on the cards? Are you going to do more comedy festivals?
Well, after the last comedy festival, I thought, I'm never going to do that again.
Right.
But then I was talking to Matt O'Kine on the last night of the Sydney Comedy Festival, and I told him that I was never going to do another one again. And he said, oh, you know, that's such a waste. That's so shitty to do that. And I was like, oh, what do you mean? He said, oh, imagine all the things you've learned and you're never going to have your best show in your first year. Because I think I felt a bit like I really just did. I did a great job. I think I did what I set out to do. I was really proud that I'd done it because I'd always wanted to do a solo show. But it didn't like go gangbusters or something. Yeah. So I was like, well, maybe it's not worth my time. Like I didn't earn that much money, like compared to how much time I spent on it.
Yeah.
I think I've signed up for Fringe to do a show with a mate of mine, and it's called, for Sydney Fringe, it's called Big Girls Don't Cry, and it's it's like a sketch duo thing.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting you talk about that because, like, what is your? I guess my final question is, what is your metric for success? What would be a success for you?
Yeah, it is really funny because, like, it is really interesting from one person to another. Like, I found, like, on average, I got like 50 people to a show every night. So it's great. You know, I had some industry people that I really trust come, and they really liked it. And I got a job out of it. I got a gig on It's a Date, having a date with Dan Wiley. Yep. Which was really fun. So, like, in terms of for me, it was about trying to have a launch pad where people were like, oh, she's a person who makes content and who's like a motivated and has a bunch of different characters she can play. And so that was, like, I think that did get noticed by some people in that way. Maybe.
That sounds pretty sweet.
Yeah, I think so. And it's like, it's really tough on your partner though, I think. Right. Because it just means you're just earning not much money. Yeah. And when you kind of have stuff to pay for and a mortgage and all that, it's not incredibly helpful.
It's interesting, the expectation in the industry is like, yes, I broke even. It's like, you really didn't. Like, financially, even if you did, you've put in 6 months of labour. You need to duck that pay.
And plus, you like drank to console yourself every night, and definitely. That's but then what are you going to be doing otherwise? Like, I always just think, like, so now at the moment I have 3 days spare a week, which I spend just like working on other projects, or it means I have them spare if I get a gig come up. But it also, I'm like, oh shit, should I be earning money somehow, you know, doing a normal day job? I think, what would I be doing? I would be like at an office filing or something, which is what I've done in the past. And I just don't know that helps anyone in the long run. Like, you might get $20 an hour or something in the short term, but in the long run, maybe you're just better off trying to keep plugging away at your career so that it eventually pays dividends.